Hello everyone. Welcome to Power Automate Desktop Training Tutorial. My name is Vishal Ramlani, and in our session today, we will learn about the folder actions provided by Power Automate Desktop. So the folder actions that will be covered in today's session are get files in a folder, second, if folder exists, third, rename folder, fourth, create folder, and fifth, get subfolders in a folder. Let's start with our first action, which is get files in folder. As you can see, there are multiple properties under it. I've mentioned their individual descriptions for you all to refer. Let's see how we can make use of this section in Power Automate Desktop. Under Action Spin, search for Get Files in Folder. Drag and drop the section. Here, the functionality of this particular action is to retrieve the list of files in a folder. The first property is folder. So using this folder option, you can select the appropriate folder from which we have to get the files. So let's select. Second property is file filter. So here, if you want only specific type of files that you want from this particular folder, you can specify the filter accordingly. Let's say we want to get only XLSX files. So let's put in the filter star.xlsx. Then another property is include subfolders. So if we enable this particular option, so it will check all the subfolders which are present under this folder for this type of file. So let's disable this for now. And we have advanced properties as well. Let me open this. So here the first property is fail upon denied access to any subfolder. So there may be situation wherein we don't have access to folder sometimes. So if we enable this option, it will throw an error in case we don't have access to that folder. Then another property is sort by. So once we get the list of all the files that are present in our given folder, we can sort the result based on these properties. If you want to sort using full name, root path, directory name, and so on. Then next property is descending. So if we want to sort the result in descending mode, then we can enable this option, or else we can let this be disabled. So this is the first level of sorting. Then if we want to sort using the second property as well, then you can choose any of these given options. Then again, give an option to sort the second layer in either ascending or descending order. Then this is the third layer of sorting, wherein again we have all the options present. Then again, we have the option to sort the third layer in either ascending or descending order. Let's close this option. And finally, the variable produced by this particular action is files, which is the list of all the file objects. Let's save this. And let's run this flow. So as you can see in the flow variable section, if I open the files variable, it contains just one XLSX file, which is sample.xlsx. And if I close this and make some change in our action, this time let's enable this include subfolders as well. And click on save and run the flow again. Let's see what difference it brings out. Let me open this variable again. Here, as you can see, under this PA folder, we had one file. And under this PA folder, we had another folder in the name of Excel, which contains this file. And if I open any of the more options here, you can see there are multiple properties over here. Accordingly, you can choose to sort the data. Let me close this. Now let's go to our next action, which is if folder exists. It has two properties. First is if folder, and second is folder path. I've mentioned the individual description for you all to refer. Let's see how we can check if any folder exists or not using Power Automate Desktop. Let me disable this action. And under Actions pane, let's search for if folder exists. Drag and drop this action. The functionality of this particular action is that it marks the beginning of a conditional block of actions depending on whether a folder exists or not. So the first property is a folder, which gives us two options, exist, and second is doesn't exist. So if we want to check whether a folder exists, we can go with the first option. Second property is folder path, which allows us to select the folder we want to check. So let's go for selecting one and click on save. Now let's use a display message to check whether this particular folder exists or not. Under Actions pane, let's search for display message. Drag and drop the section. And under message display, let's type in folder is present. Click on save and let's run this flow. Okay, so this particular folder exists. Accordingly, it has given us the message. Click on OK. Let's go to our next action, which is rename folder. It has two properties. First is folder to rename, and second is new folder name. The first property asks us to specify the full path of the folder or a variable containing the folder to change its name. And second is new folder name, wherein it asks us to enter the text or a text variable to be the new folder name. Let's see how we can rename a folder in Power Automate Desktop. So here, since we are checking whether this particular folder exists or not, and we are just displaying the message, so instead of this section, let's rename this folder. Under Actions pane, search for rename folder. Drag and drop this action. Basically, this action functions in a way that it helps us to change the name of a folder. The first property is folder to rename. Let's select the folder we want to rename. And let's give it a new name as Excel new. And the variable produced by this particular action is rename folder. Let's click on save and run this flow. Okay, so the flow execution is complete. Let's check if the folder has been renamed or not. As you can see, this is the parent folder, wherein this particular folder has been renamed to Excel new. Now let's proceed with our next action, which is create folder. It has two properties. First is create new folder into, and second, new folder name. So in the first property, we have to enter or choose the full path of the folder or a variable containing the folder to create a new folder in. Whereas in second property, we have to enter the text or a text variable to be the name of the new folder. Let's see how to create a new folder in Power Automate Desktop. Now, since this particular folder was renamed to a new name, let's create the same folder again. Let me disable this action. Under Actions pane, search for create folder. Drag and drop this action. So basically, the action helps us to create a new folder. The first property is create a new folder into. So here we have to select the parent folder under which we want to create this new folder. Let's select parent folder. Let's give this new folder the same name which it was prior to getting renamed, which is Excel. I click on save. But do notice we don't have this particular folder now. So we have to make a change here. So if this folder doesn't exist, only then we have to create this folder, right? Let's run this flow. The flow execution is complete. Let's check our parent folder. So as you can see, this was our renamed folder, and this is the new folder that we created just now. Now let's go to our last action for the session, which is get subfolders in folder. There are multiple properties under it. You can refer to their individual descriptions. Let's see how we can find the subfolders using Power Automate Desktop. Let me disable these actions. Under Actions pane, search for get subfolders. Drag and drop this action. The functionality of this particular action is to retrieve the list of subfolders in a folder. The first property is folder, wherein we have to select the folder under which we want to find other folders. Let's select the parent folder here. Click on OK. Second property is folder filter. So if we want to find the folders that end or start with certain name, you can accordingly put in the filter here. Third property is include subfolders. So if we enable this, it will find all the subfolders under this parent folder in accordance with the filter, if any. And we have advanced properties as well. So these are the same properties which we discussed while using get files in a folder action. Let me close this option. The variable produced by this particular action is folders, which is a list of all the folder objects. Let's click on save and run this flow. Under flow variables, we have the folders variable created. Let me open it. Now, as you can see, under this PA folder, there are 3 folders: Excel, Excel New, and PPTs. And if I open any of it, there are multiple properties under it. You can make use of these properties to sort the list of folder objects that we received. Let me close this. So this marks the end of our module. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would request you all to subscribe my channel for more videos. Also, I have listed down some suggested videos as well as the ones next in line for your ease. Cheers.